Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, hard to believe that it's already the first day, ladies and gentlemen, the first day of the new month. We are so deep into this new year. And we are going to be broadcasting here for the next 3 hours. There is so much to go over, obviously. We're going to have a Benghazi whistleblower who popped in yesterday, come back on a little bit more today before he gets gagged by the Justice Department, who basically uses subpoenas to be able to do that. We are also, again, obviously going to be taking your phone calls today. And I also want to turn that light over there, because it changes each day, towards that wall so I can see that clock. That's an ongoing issue. I think I'm just going to get that out now. I'm just psychoanalyzing here why I get so frustrated, because it changes day to day. So just physically hand me that atomic clock until we're at that point. And then I'll just be able to have it right here in front of me. And that'll be awesome. Just I can physically actually hold the atomic clock. And if I just have it here, then I can see it. Thank you. Thank you very much. There. Problem solved. There we go. So, isn't May 1st, just notice there's another big one right over there. Isn't May 1st the big globalist New World Order Day? You know, it's also an occultic day. That's why the communist and the proto-communist chose it as their big day. And so when we come back from this break, I will officially start the radio show here, and I will go over all of the news for folks here on the radio broadcast. But there's obviously a lot going on, and we're going to be going over all of it here. When I look at all this news, the reason I get frustrated is that I know that I only cover a fraction of it. And so maybe I should try to get to all the news I didn't get to yesterday and all the new news that's breaking today so that I can feel satisfied. Because sometimes I get in here and, well, I don't really feel like doing the radio show just because I've got things going on. Like my French bulldog that likes to chase balls. He's a very athletic French bulldog. And we've learned that from doing that with his big head, most French bulldogs are not athletic. This dog's extremely athletic. That he's got, looks like herniated disc and stuff and can't move his head. So I almost didn't do the radio show when I got the word of this from the doctor and the CAT scan they're doing on the dog. And so I think that's why I'm probably distracted here coming into the main transmission. But I do not want to take calls about that issue. I'm just letting folks know why I'm not in a very good mood. It'll probably make for a good radio show, though, today, that I'll be in a particularly bad mood. And so you might get some flare-ups here today, which I know is entertaining to some people out there, but I will assure you is not intentional. Now, all of that said, again, we're going to go to break and come back and officially start the radio transmission here today and get into all the news. Out of everything I've got here, there's something interesting in the stack from the Associated Press. U.S. government says Al-Qaeda affiliates surge, terrorism spikes. Our criminal government just spent 3 years arming Al-Qaeda and giving them bases all over the world, in North Africa, the Middle East, you name it. And now they think we're so stupid and they're so criminal, so evil, that they're going to take our liberties in the name of protecting us from their people. Monday through Friday, ladies and gentlemen, 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're here. I am your host, Alex Jones. And there is just a mass ton of news here today that I've somehow got to get to. I have told you for at least 12 years that the internal Border Patrol, Homeland Security checkpoints 100 miles into the nation are to be set up to be the beginning of a national internal police force. That's what McClatchy is now calling it today in an article titled, "As Border Security Expands, Complaints of Abuse Rise Among Americans." It's being called a virtual interior police force. Well, that's what it is. That's what Homeland Security is. That's what the TSA is. This is all classical authoritarian martial law culture. Now, you notice that 60+% of deportations have stopped. They are legalizing illegals by fiat and are preparing to legalize anyone that's here. But they're going to keep a vestigial border patrol in place to simply control narcotics coming across that the big banks aren't getting a slice of or a cut of. The drug war is only to keep prices up by keeping competition out. That's all it's for, and then to put people in the private prisons who are dumb enough to use the globalist big bank products. But as Ron Paul has always said, watch out about a border fence. It will only be used to keep you in because the globalists want the borders open. He said we could have a border fence, and most nations do, but until you change the policies of basically legalizing anybody that can get here and putting them on welfare, the border fence will only be used to keep us in. And that is exactly what this is. So it's very, very frustrating. That's a McClatchy article that's up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. It's also up on DrudgeReport.com on the left-hand side. Then we have other articles here in the stack today that I'm going to be getting to, where the U.S. government and the Pentagon have come out and said, oh, my gosh, brace for mass terror attacks. It's horrible. Al-Qaeda's gotten a foothold in western Iraq. They've retaken Fallujah. They're having to send U.S. troops back into Iraq on top of the mercenaries. Al-Qaeda is taking much of the country right now. And when you read the article, it's just so bizarre because they say North Africa has Al-Qaeda. Iraq has Al-Qaeda. Syria has Al-Qaeda. We need more funding, and we need to be ready and need more homeland security domestically because Al-Qaeda is going to hit us and hit us hard. Now, for someone who's informed, this is comical if it wasn't so serious. Al-Qaeda was created by Zbigniew Brzezinski and Saudi Arabian intelligence in 1979, expanded under Ronald Reagan in the Mujahideen operations against the Russians. I'm not romanticizing the Russians, but the West started that. The Russians came in to respond to it and were set up and basically bled dry, just like Vietnam was set up for the U.S. by the Russians and others. Fast forward, ladies and gentlemen, the globalists don't care. They make money off the Russian debacle, the Vietnam debacle. They are manipulating the countries and regions off against each other. It's called the Great Game. It's called balkanization. It's called making money off all sides. Al-Qaeda had to be supercharged, and they had to get a new group of real Al-Qaeda out of jihadi groups worldwide to be trained by Qatari special forces, Saudi Arabian special forces, U.S. special forces, NATO special forces, French special forces, British special forces. And out of those groups, they had to create clandestine spin-off organizations that will be used to attack Europe, Israel, anybody the globalists don't like in the Middle East or Africa, and the United States. And when they shoot down U.S. airliners, when they shoot down U.K. airliners, when they shoot down EU airliners, there will be no discussion that the very missiles were given to them by different multinational arms dealers and brought in by the State Department publicly. There will be no discussion of that. And there will be newscasts saying, Alex Jones says that firefighters that responded to the shot-down airplane over Minneapolis, St. Paul, or wherever it's going to be, or over Los Angeles, Alex says the police shot the plane down. No. The police aren't involved. The firefighters that will respond to the shot-down aircraft aren't involved. The globalists will be involved years before, as they've now done, arming the very groups who will then attack us so they can take our liberty, and the government can grandstand and have checkpoints and armored vehicles and surveil everyone and grope your children at the airport and put you in naked body scanners because of the al-Qaeda threat. That's all this is. And they're just flipping it now from the al-Qaeda threat to domestic threats, and that it's terrorism if you don't want to give up your private property. It's terrorism if you don't accept total police state, criticizing the government's terrorism, and the main terror threat is returning veterans, gun owners, Tea Partiers, constitutionalists, you name it. We've talked about this ad nauseum, but we have to get this information out to everybody. A surge in the number, I'm reading from the AP, a surge in the number of aggressive al-Qaeda affiliates and like-minded groups in the Middle East and North Africa poses a serious threat to U.S. interested allies, the State Department said Wednesday in reporting a more than 40% increase in terrorist attacks worldwide between 2013 and 2012. The department also signaled out Iran as a major state sponsor of terrorism that continues to defy demands it prove its atomic ambitions are peaceful, even as Washington pursues negotiation with Tehran. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how the AP writes propaganda to the average person that thinks they're informed and actually reads news. Because only about 20% of people actually even care about the news and think they're smart and think they're informed because they keep track of establishment news. Iran is Shiite. Al-Qaeda is a radical Wahhabist Sunni group. Totally different groups that hate each other more than anybody else. Saudi Arabia are the ones running al-Qaeda, but they imply here that Iran is involved. And I'm not saying Iran isn't involved in terrorism. The point is they just conflate the two, mix the two, so the average person reading this thinks Iran is behind the growth of al-Qaeda. No. The West turned over Libya to al-Qaeda to take it over and backed al-Qaeda with Western airstrikes. That's on record. And now even our own government admits Libya is much worse off, and al-Qaeda is using Libya as a command base to invade all of Africa. Now that crisis erupts, the West could use that as a smokescreen to invade other areas and seize resources that has nothing to do with al-Qaeda. So our government puts al-Qaeda in and then says they've got to be in Africa to fight al-Qaeda when they're actually running around murdering villagers for their property. And the same thing for Syria. The same thing for Iraq. There was an article out yesterday about how they're having to send advisors and more troops back to Iraq to fight al-Qaeda. And our troops will actually now fight real al-Qaeda, who was armed, protected, and given bases in western Iraq. I mean, this is how the globalists operate because we are politically illiterate. The average American, people are starting to wake up. But they don't know what they're waking up to. It's like they hear the door crash in and somebody yelling and screaming downstairs in your house. You know someone's coming in your house. You know you're being screwed. You know something bad is happening, but still you don't know what it is. Well, there's a 14-foot vampire that just knocked down your front door. It's called the New World Order, and it's going to tie you up and suck the blood out of you and your whole family real fast if you don't get up on your feet and get motivated real fast. That's who just came to the door. I saw him coming down the street, sucking dry a whole bunch of other countries and writing white papers on how he did it. Now he just rammed down the front door because you invited him in. You wanted all the free Obamacare and the rest of it, and you better get motivated. You're like, well, I can't beat a 14-foot vampire, you know, with 8-inch fangs. Well, if you cower, he's going to tie you up and suck you dry real slow. So you better go ahead and just turn into a killer gorilla and start attacking. Because let me tell you, you're a lot meaner than that 14-foot vampire if you decide you are. I'll use that cheesy analogy. I'll take a werewolf gorilla anytime over a vampire. You will stomp the guts out of the vampire if you just decide you can do it. But he's coming. He's coming up the stairs now. Next month, he'll be in the bedroom. You're going to hide under the bed? He'll smell you under there. He's got NSA grids, satellites, the whole 9 yards, and armies of vampires ready for war against you and your family. It's called Homeland Security. And they're training for your blood right now, training on you and your children. They've got their FEMA centers built. They're coming. Hiding under the bed isn't going to protect you. By the way, it's one of the highest satanic holy days right now. So coming up at the start of the next hour, I'm going to get into Beltane, that is celebrated on May 1st for more than 6,000 years that we know. And child sacrifice is called for on the Gaelic holiday of Beltane. So you wonder why the communists, the liberals, the trendies, well, this is their day. So if this is what you celebrate, we'll worship the horned god and drink a bucket of blood. They'll grab a kid off the streets and burn them. Burn them for your God. Of course, don't worry, they're killing babies everywhere, 53 million and counting, just in this sector. They make the Druids blush. We'll be right back on May Day for all you liberals. Coming up at the start of the next hour, I'll get into May Day and Beltane. Why has the left chosen that as their high holy day? Well, you got to understand the Jacobins and the French Revolution and the Illuminati. It's all mainline history in Encyclopedia Britannica. But the average person doesn't know about basic history. The fact is that the left is known as the sinister hand or the hand of the devil. And so until the last 150 years or so, politics was not described as left or right. But as the Jacobin, satanic, Luciferian society grew in power, I'm going to cover this in the next hour, politics became one of left and right. Right means male and godly. Sinister, or the sinister hand, the left means evil and female. And I'm not saying females are evil, folks. The point is that that's where it all comes from. So when you hear we're leftist, it means we're devil worshipers. And so you need to just know where that all comes from. And, of course, the Republicans are off at their Bohemian Grove and Skull and Bones, and they're just the fake right hand of the left to create the illusion so you think that there's only the left and the right, when the left and the right is an occultic, which means hidden, world system. And we live in an occult world system of left and right, and people don't even know where it comes from. Now, there's the definition, sinister. Middle English, sinister, from Anglo-French. On the left, from Latin, sinister. Sinister on the left side, unlucky. Inauspicious. See, all of this coded language is in public view if you know what it means. And, of course, the elite do. They all communicate with each other, even on television, giving each other codes and things. And if you're not initiated into that, if you're not part of the gang, if you don't know their battle language, then you don't understand what they're doing. Well, I know their battle language. I've studied their battle language. And it's like a Twilight Zone episode to go through life watching them with their gang signs, communicating, running their operations, celebrating our destruction, trampling and being trampled upon. A society that doesn't develop towards more virtue and more love, but towards less, more barbarous, more murderous, Winston. You want to picture the future, see a boot stomping on a human face forever. Goodness cornered and tied down and chained, annihilated over and over again ritualistically for the power of evil. I'm paraphrasing 1984. So I said I'd get into it. I'm going to try to focus and really break down how it all works for you coming up. I kind of just did right then, didn't I? It's coming up. Let me tell you about it now. But I'll talk more about that in the first 30 minutes of the next hour. Then Tosh Plumlee is going to be popping back in because, again, he's been told the subpoena is coming. And that basically the subpoena is a gag order because it says you can't talk there. So I want him to just get everything else on record. And you know what? We'll take questions for Tosh Plumlee when he comes on. We'll have him talk 5 minutes, and then we'll take some calls for Tosh Plumlee, the CIA contract pilot, who's on record as CIA contract pilot, whistleblower in the church committees. You know, why is he still flying for the CIA? Because they can't penalize him because he's public. Being public is the way to go. They want to create the illusion that you can't stand up, where everybody's scared, nobody stands up, and the evil takes over. But again, just like people don't know what Samhain or Sam Hain stands for. They don't know what Beltane stands for. Mayday. They don't know what Al-Qaeda is. They don't know the criminals that run our country literally are the daddies, the mommies, the funders, the sponsors, the commanders of Al-Qaeda. Because people don't know the basics of the planet. They don't know its history. They don't know its systems. They don't know any of it. You can become an outside observer and, quite frankly, an initiate of all this, but you're not a supporter of it, but you're the equivalent of an initiate, if you would simply decide to study real history. How they operate, what they're doing, why they plan to become God, they believe merging with the machines. But to do that first, humans have to be defeated, and then the machines have to be defeated before they merge with the higher consciousness. And the entire 2001 Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke is an allegory of that. All right, we're going to come back and get into the news straight ahead. Stay with us. We've got key gun news straight up. I am in overload right now. I'm going to be honest with everybody on this Thursday edition. I don't even know where to start next. My head is spinning. We've got video we're going to play later. It's up on Infowars.com. House Democrat, basically all criticism of Obama is straight up racism. They're now wanting to shake down the NBA and anyone that's, quote, homophobic and have them fired or run out. I mean, it is just a complete new modern socialist inquisition, basically, that's being set up. Another bizarre article at Infowars.com. EMS worker tells mom we're agents of the state during home inspection because they called an ambulance. And when they came in, they basically said, we're CPS workers. We're going to inspect your house and see if you're a good parent. The cable people, the phone people, they've all been turned into government agents. Look it up under InfraGard and other programs. It's a total snitch society where they're just looking for something. We've got that. There's another great video up on Infowars.com. Watch this. This is what happens when a good guy has a gun. These people are robbing this woman, and a fellow runs up with a gun and gets them both on the ground and stops it. Just another great example of what happens with the power of the Second Amendment. It's very important that we continue to hold up the fact that it's 40-plus times for every time a gun's used in a crime, it's used to frustrate crime. That's the Justice Department's own numbers, but they don't want that information out. We've got NSA news. I've got a ton of news on the latest developments in Russia. We've got huge news on superbugs. I want to get to it all. But briefly, I want to get into an article that was up on Infowars.com yesterday. And I have a follow-up article being written by Kit Daniels right now. And if this story can be expanded on and gotten out to the public, it can really cause the administration problems. That's why, and stop a lot of their agenda in its tracks, that's why when this story came out, immediately we started getting emails and seeing comments in the article saying, where's the links? Where's the proof? Where is it that this is true? And if you read the articles he linked to, you would read gun shops and sporting goods shops that have firearms all over the country. It's been going on for 6 years since Obama got in, being told, we won't take your merchant account. You can't fulfill credit card orders with us because you sell guns or ammo. Now they're expanding into archery equipment. And the bank goes, free market, it's our decision. But they're being directed, it's discriminatory, it's not legal, by the Justice Department. And we have a 2011 Justice Department memo link that was quoted in the mainstream articles that Kit Daniels linked to, but we went ahead and added the link directly to it where it says, and, you know, you need to not have, firearms or ammunition in the Justice Department memo. And we know the Justice Department says they want to brainwash the public against guns. We have that clip by the Attorney General Holder. We've played 100 times probably or more. Hey, go ahead and cue that up again if you can find it. And we've got the Mayors Against Gun Violence and Against Illegal Guns, they're always changing the name, run by Bloomberg, saying that they're working with banks to do this, and social media like Facebook and other groups. And so we know this is going on, and I immediately saw a big push saying our article was a hoax. And they do this when we have an article exposing Benghazi. They come and say it isn't real because it is real. Or when we have an article saying, look, they just purchased another 100 million bullets. That makes it 1.6 billion or 2+ billion as the number grew. They go, oh, my gosh, another fake story, another fake story. Oh, another fake story that drones are watching farmers. And we're linked to local newspapers. This is absolute brainwashing, absolute gaslighting, where they go, we're not setting, the NSA's not spying on you. We're not funding Al-Qaeda. Why, Obamacare, you can keep your doctor. Okay, you're losing your doctor. I never said you could keep your doctor. Or here's the clip of you saying it. I didn't say that. Don't be crazy. Don't be paranoid. Who was it wrote For Who the Bell Tolls? He was a socialist, but he meant well. Bleeding heart liberal. Great guy. He wrote Old Man in the Sea. What's his name? Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway had his phones tapped, his house broken into, was being harassed, his friends being messed with. It got to him. He should have just enjoyed it and laughed at it. That's what we do to COINTELPRO around here. It's very enjoyable. We make it fun. It gives us energy. Sometimes I'm tired and COINTELPRO kicks off and I go in at night and work a few more hours. You attack us, we fight harder. But he said the FBI's messing with me and harassing me. And they said, you're mentally ill. And some of his handlers agreed, so they took him in for electroshock and over 100 doses of it until his brain was fried and he had no memory and his beautiful mind was gone. He did have a beautiful mind. And it was declassified a few years ago that indeed the FBI did all of it to mess with him and had his brain wiped. But still he was kooky for thinking it. You understand? If the NSA is listening to you, you're still a kook for thinking they are when they are. Fresh claim over the role of FBI played in suicide of Ernest Hemingway. That's how The Guardian puts it. And you read the article. Well, it's admitted the FBI was messing with him, but, you know, the claim, is it accurate that they made him commit suicide? They could spin anything. Yesterday, Jay Carney was like, yes, the memos say we've got to have a unified talking point in the emails. And yes, we had said that there were no emails. But we're talking about other talking points that don't deal with Benghazi in the Benghazi email. You understand? So here's the article. Holder's latest scandal. DOJ now pressuring banks to refuse service to gun stores. Now, Kit put the article out and linked to the document. And he linked to some of the news articles that had it buried in there, that it was a 2011 Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation bulletin that said that merchant categories involving high risk, things like firearms and ammo, are disruptive to merchants. Kit didn't add his source. He should have, and it will be in his new article, because, you know, my reporters need to have respect for themselves. We're real journalists. You know, the New York Times could say an anonymous source told them there were aluminum tubes and uranium yellow cake from Niger when there wasn't, and lie about it. But you're allowed to have anonymous sources. Kit got contacted by a gun dealer in town that doesn't want to be named. Another gun dealer we know is willing to go on record about it. We're trying to line that up right now. That they were told by the bank, we're shutting your account because of the Justice Department told us to. So the article should have said this office was told by multiple gun dealers. One of them's also a shooting range that's been on the show before. Everybody can figure it out. And that they've been told that by the bank that the Justice Department says we can't have this bank account with you. Now, it's already in a 2011 memo. It's already buried in news articles that, you know, gun shops are mad because they're having their accounts. That's in hundreds of articles. So, but the Justice Department doesn't want to have a discussion about this. Because it'll come out that with outside of law, and they said, we're going to go after the guns outside of law because we can't get a gun law passed, a gun registration, gun ban passed. We'll do it with executive orders. Well, even Senator Cornyn came out 2 weeks ago and said they're preparing an executive order to ban previously made guns from sale and to make you buy biometric guns. I mean, this is happening. The Attorney General said a month ago to Congress he's looking at that and that they may make an administrative order. Well, you can take your administrative order and shove it into your May Day parade, buddy. I mean, these people are arming to the teeth against us, training for war. Those memos are all public. Building FEMA camps, training for war with gun owners. And we put this article out, and they freaked out. I mean, when you see them instantly hit and say, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, they're scared to death that InfoWars is able to punch through the media Berlin Wall and cause a national debate. I added a comment to the top of the article, and it says this. Holder's latest scandal, DOJ now pressuring banks to refuse service to gun owners. Operation Choke Point also targets other legal businesses for political reasons. Comment from Alex Jones. This is a classic example of criminal racketeering. Holder is shutting down businesses just like the Nazis targeted their assets and later the companies of Jews in the 1930s. The DOJ has been caught shipping guns to drug dealers, terrorists, and gang members in Mexico and to the Fast and Furious. Yet Holder is targeting legitimate, lawful gun groups. This is completely outside of the law and resembles the behavior of a dictatorship. Impeachment proceedings must begin immediately. For the past several months, the DOJ, Department of Justice, has been pressuring banks to refuse service to businesses the DOJ is targeting politically, such as gun stores, in a program entitled Operation Choke Point. Under the program, the DOJ, headed by Attorney General Eric Holder, is having to shut down various legal businesses, including firearms dealers. And we've got links to the stinking choke point, but he needs to add those more prominently, not at the bottom. Purveyors of drug paraphernalia and pornography distributors by coercing financial institutions to close the bank account of merchant accounts associated with these businesses. But nested within it, he should add this, is the word gun shops, ammo, and other high risk. Just like how have we been banned at universities and at Dell before, that's been in the news, and at libraries and at London train stations, as we've shown, and EU train stations. They have computer filter programs for the public's, quote, safety that stop 5 categories that are high risk. Gambling, hacking, porn, crime, and hate. And now they're adding other categories, illegal file swapping, piracy. So I guess there's 6. There was 5 when I first learned of this, like 15, 16 years ago. We were getting censored at first and getting the documents. People were shooting video of the library saying this is Infowars.com, you're not allowed to go there. It's a hate site. And so we threatened some of the companies that were putting us in there, and they backed off. But smaller sites don't know how to do that. They stay banned. So that's all this is they have a database, and they basically say, don't do this. And look, the newspapers for more than a decade, almost all of them will not take a gun shop advertising. Most of them will not take classified ads for guns. Craigslist has stopped doing it. This is how, outside of the law, through the establishment, they're doing this. And this is what the Nazis did. In 1933, they started having big banks refuse Jews' bank accounts. Then they stopped refusing them to have money transfers. Wires, they had those back then on telegraph. Then they started not letting them have shipments on trains. Then they started not letting them have their businesses open. Started knocking the windows out. Crystal night and things like that. And you can go, oh, whatever, what's with the Nazi analogy? Well, I mean, internal checkpoints, black uniforms, armored vehicles, German shepherds. I mean, this is it. This is it, internal checkpoints. And while they've got us busy thinking racism's under every table and bringing in anti-freech movements and new FCC Gestapos that are going to go out and inspect every newsroom in the country to make sure you're not racist, it's a witch hunt, folks. It's political, Soviet-style persecution. And this is a crystal knot against gun owners and against gun shops. And the gun owners and gun shops are isolated. They're alone. They don't recognize historically what's happening to them. I'm giving you the context right now. So it's just like sanctions on Iran or something, or sanctions on Russia. These are illegal, color of law, racketeering, fraudulent. These words mean something. And criminal, mafia, racketeering, outside of the law, color of law, sanctions against gun owners. See, what do they call the new free press in 1993, 4, 5 in that White House memo that's now been released, 30 pages, but Joseph Farah got the whole thing out of the Clinton Library. That's coming out soon. It's so bombshell, he doesn't know what to even do with it. It's so big. The Western Journalism Center. They said, we got to stop new media getting money and cut off their commerce. We got to demonize any new media as conspiracy theorists, have our media do that to shut down the public having venues to be able to communicate. They had just lost control of talk radio a few years before. So we're actually in a revolution against them. We're actually gaining ground. When you launch a YouTube site, when you launch a website, when you repost our information, when you hand out flyers of the show, when you start your own local radio show, your own access show, or sponsor somebody who you hear on the radio to have more time, you are absolutely in a war. And all you got to do in the war, I'll use the moose hunting analogy. Up in Michigan, up in upstate New York, and up in other places where they've got some moose, I guess. Montana, you know, Utah, whatever. You've got to go to a lottery to be able... Here's an example. If you don't want to pay to alligator hunt in South Texas, where you can kill 15-foot alligators, because they're overpopulated, eating people's dogs and stuff, you got to go do a lottery, and then 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10, depends on the year of the county, you will get to go on public land, and you will get to hunt an alligator. Okay? And then get boots made out of it. We've done that. You know, my son, rite of passage, he's killed 3 alligators. By hand. Shot him in the head himself over the boat. But the whole point is that, let's say we had a physical war with the criminal government. There's 160, 70 million gun owners. Let's say 1% fight back, 1.6 million combatants. You'd have to go out and get a lottery for an establishment person to kill. You go out and kill one person. And I'm not saying do this. It's an analogy. It's over for them. You go out and kill one globalist or one minion of theirs. When you start that, they will panic and all run to Switzerland, and we'll take the country. I don't want to go there. It's not going to happen. We're going to fix this peacefully. But it's the same thing politically. You pop up and do political stuff. You pop up every week and do something. A banner hang, hand out cards, go to city council, go lobby for pro-Second Amendment, pro-sovereignty, pro-liberty movements, whatever it is, pick an issue. You go out and just do a little something every week. You will bring them to their knees. And they know that. And that's why they want to shut us down and shut everybody else down. Because if you engage in the info war, 90% of war is info war, I agree with the Pentagon, it's over. Folks, we've already got the military awake. The military is the most awake group out there. Over 80%. The globalists are in deep trouble. Now we're reaching out to the police. I'm getting at, if you let one ant stand up, they might all stand up, and then there goes our way of life. So the establishment's busy dividing us on religion, race, sex, using some old, evil, pot-bellied billionaire as a reason to create all this guilt and how do we prove we're not racist and blah, 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 politically to beat white people over the head into acquiescing to turn their guns in because Michael Moore says you're racist if you own a gun. Look it up. That's what he says every time he's on MSNBC. I tell you, it's just a bunch of old racist white people, don't like guns. Don't like black people. And so that's why they got guns. Really? I got a video right here on Infowars.com of a black man jumping out of his car in about 2 seconds, very professionally, and stopping 2 people that are mugging a woman and her family and putting the criminals down on the ground. And you're not going to see that image on the news except locally. We're going to play that in the next hour. Well, this is the type of stuff we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. And now we have to understand that if we just politically start doing stuff outside the box, let's say you call yourself a real liberal, cares about the environment, cares about freedom, but understands we've got a federal tyranny. Go out and do the issues you think are important. But don't be part of some establishment group that siphons your energy off as AstroTurf to push their agenda as a rent-a-mob. Do your own thing. Be an individual. Create art. Create your own original ideas. Go out and do street art in common areas where it's acceptable. They have that in a lot of cities, and counter all the stupid gang culture graffiti with powerful political messages. Sometimes I feel the urge and, you know, climb on things in the middle of the night with spray paint. Oh, I'm just joking. The point is that you've got to put it into physical action, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to totally overwhelm the globalist. We've got to really get aggressive with them, or they're going to start a physical civil war in this country that is meant to destroy the police and military to bring in the next wave, as well as destroying the domestic resistance at the same time. And that's why we're pushing for nonviolent civil disobedience. But when they physically attack you for peaceful civil disobedience, it's going to the next level. I do not believe in offensive violence, but I do believe in defending yourself. And by the way, that's all Malcolm X ever said, and he's been demonized lately as being someone who called for violence. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He called for defending yourself if you're attacked. And ladies and gentlemen, that's not terrorism. If the feds at the Bundy Ranch would have shot those citizens, most of them unarmed, it would have been an act of government tyranny, an act of government terrorism, and a new 1776 would have started. I do not want that to happen. Every bone in my body is against it. This hour, don't forget, was brought to you by mypatriotsupply.com/Alex. High-quality, non-GMO foods and other key survival implements. 866-229-0927. mypatriotsupply.com/Alex. And you can also support us and get 11 memberships for the price of one at prisonplanet.tv. See all my films in HD, the nightly news, and so much more at prisonplanet.tv, and fund the very tip of the spear of the InfoWar. And don't forget, we also have InfoWarsStore.com with the T-shirts, the books, the films, the Nation Iodine, the incredible supplements, and you're funding the tip of the spear, prisonplanet.tv, InfoWars.com. Second hour coming up. Stay with us on this Thursday global transmission. By the way, it just went live at InfoWars.com and prisonplanet.com. We're going to put it on the top of our Facebook, the top of the Real Alex Jones Twitter. Justice Department launches covert sanctions against gun owners. And I told him to do the article last night. He's gotten it done very quickly. But I want to get the video link, which he's now added, of holders saying we got to brainwash the public added, and just literally scores. There's more than a dozen links proving the joint program to target guns by shutting down their merchant accounts of gun dealers, gun shops, okay? And again, they're real scared of this. When this article went live, I immediately saw people saying it was a hoax. And when they do that, it's because they've actuaried that it will hurt them bad. This is so criminal, ladies and gentlemen, what they're doing. It is just beyond belief. So, Justice Department launches covert sanctions against gun owners. We need a maximum operation against the globalists to get this out to everybody. I mean, you want to hurt these people, send this out on your Twitter and Facebook and your email list and hand print it off and hand it out to gun shops. Gun shops don't know how they're under attack. They've got a good idea, but they need the full decompartmentalization model that we give them. We understand the globalist master model. I just got chills. We know how to savage the enemy. We know how to crush the enemy. We know how to bleed the enemy out. We know they're an enemy. That's why we know. We're willing to go head up against the enemy. And in fact, we love it. And that's why they hate us, because we've got their number. We know who they are. And we're going in. Nothing on earth's going to stop it. And the more they squeeze, the more it validates everything we've documented. So they want to deny, deny, deny. GE Capital, Bank of America, they're all cutting off loans and bank accounts to major gun dealers, major gun manufacturers, parts manufacturers, and they're now going after sporting goods stores. And it's time for sporting goods stores to not go, I guess we'll go along with it and not sell AR-15s or M4s because you don't like it. leave us alone, Justice Department, go after the other shops. They'll get all of you in the end, morons, if you don't hang together. This intel came to us from gun shops, major gun shops in Austin. And it wasn't even intel. It's already hidden in plain view, their operation. But now they're doing it to everybody, basically. Well, we better get gun dealers to stand up together. We better get aggressive, or we're going to lose everything. But see, what do they say at Waco when the Bradley fighting vehicle, is ramming the building, running over people, shooting them? We've got the flare footage. This is not an assault. Well, when the Martians land in Mars Attacks, they run around saying, "Don't run, we are your friends," laughing when the people stop and they can shoot them. That satire in Mars Attacks is making fun of the military tactic of saying, "Don't run, we're your friends," because the Germans in World War I in English and French would actually broadcast on loudspeakers, "Don't run, we are your friends." And they found statistically, people go, "We don't have to fight. We don't have to die. They're my friends." And then the Germans would, over the trenches, bayonetic, ha, 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 ha. Of course, all the rural devil dogs, all the Marines, you can read the books written about it, they just for some reason didn't buy that line and wanted to kill. So the Germans began to fear the Marines because they were all from farm boys and people, and they wanted to kill, and they wanted to fight. And it's not bad to want to kill another man that's trying to kill you. That's a normal instinct to get into it. You shouldn't want to kill innocents.
We are your friends.
There they are. Don't run, we are your friends. That's all this is. Don't run, we are your friends. No, you're not, Holder. You're my enemy. Enemy, 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 enemy. Everything you say is a lie, a fraud. You hate me and my family. You're a criminal. You're not a liberal. You're a race-baiting divider. You're a scumbag. It's our top story. It is so vitally important if you want to keep any freedom in this country. Justice Department launches covert sanctions against gun owners. Infowars.com right now. Get it out to everyone you know. Kit Daniels put out a story that went viral yesterday via Twitter, Facebook, and DrudgeReport.com. And again, we got hammered with disinfo emails and comments saying it was a fake article, even though it linked to mainstream news articles admitting that there was a Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation bulletin that put gun shops, gun dealers, sporting goods stores, and ammo sellers in with, quote, third-party payment processing relationships as risky. And it lists in there that these are things that are seen as risky. Now they are going after the gun dealers, and we were contacted by multiple gun shops in Austin to bring this to Kit's attention. We knew this was already going on. It's been all over the news that the big banks and GE Capital and the rest of them won't loan money to gun shops or gun manufacturers, and that major gun manufacturers like Smith & Wesson are leaving California because of the micro-stamping. The White House has said, and Eric Holder, the criminal attorney general, on record, has said, we will use stuff outside of law to get the guns. We'll ban importation. We'll shut down the lead smelting facilities. They shut the last one down this year. We will shut down the parts. He may sign an executive order, they've said. Senator Cornyn's warned of this. Holder testified they may do an executive order to ban all guns except biometric guns, which they can shut off, where you wear a little ring or bracelet. It's all happening, and then they want to tell you none of this is real. Just like 3 years ago when Drudge linked to our article about the Texas Power Commission, we just pointed to what they said, saying that if they shut down the power plants it would double Texas prices. That was in the LA Times now last week, 2-3 years after we broke it. The White House came out and said we were liars. They had the White House communications chief come out and say that that was not a true report on Drudge. You bet it was a true report. Pull up the LA Times last week. It says because the power plants are being closed, the power prices are doubling. Because the power plants have been closed, the power prices are doubling. Because the power plants are being closed, the power prices are doubling. I'm going to say it again for the White House. Because the power plants are being closed, the prices are doubling. Let me say it again. Because the power plants are being closed, the power prices are increasing. Now, I'm going to say this again. Obama said you could keep your doctor and it would cut your health care costs to the cost of a telephone or cable bill when it's already more than doubled it. And you can't keep your doctor and you're getting screwed. I'm going to say it again. You can't keep your doctor. There are death panels. They lied to you. They are coming after the guns. He promised in his first election, he swore he wouldn't come after the guns. Not your rifle, not your shotgun, not your handgun, none of them. You want me to play Biden? You want me to play Obama again? I mean, the guy says 2 + 2 = 5 to your kids, and they say you didn't build your business. Now, who's the liar here? I am sick of it. I am tired of it. It is garbage. Oh, man, the fact that they get away with this. So now we've put out a whole new article that just neurotically links to all the Justice Department documents telling banks and newspapers and everybody not to let you advertise or have loans or have a bank account if you sell guns or ammo or accessories. And we have absolutely loaded it up like a giant baked potato pouring over with all the trimmings. Right there for you to shove it down their degenerate, lying throats. I am sick of these people literally just lying incessantly. I mean, we're not arming al-Qaeda, they said 2 years ago. We're not giving them heat-seeking missiles. We're not giving them anti-aircraft surface-to-air missiles. And now it's all over the news 2 years later. We broke that again. How'd we break it? We have all the sources, and we can watch the al-Qaeda videos because they don't really work for the globalists. They're protected, and the door's opened for them, and they're given the weapons. But these guys all want to be rock stars. Like, your kid wants to be a rock star or a music star or a country star or a movie star or a sports star. Most kids are delusional. They're taught that, and they think they don't exist and aren't important unless they're a movie star or famous or something. Well, it's the same way in the Middle East. It's just that the little Saudi Arabian kids that are in the Wahhabist cult, or the people that grow up in Afghanistan or wherever, they want to blow up a bunch of army troops or Marines, or they want to fly a plane into a building, or they want to hijack a plane, or they want to shoot planes down with heat-seeking missiles. They don't feel like they exist unless they do that. So they videotape it all. 2 weeks before they announced chemical attacks, there were videos of them going, hello, Osama bin Laden, hello. I mean, I played the clips here, and shooting Saudi Arabian-made chemical weapons. We even went and looked it up. They were German and Saudi Arabian designs, and shooting them at the Syrian military. And the Syrians were saying, we're being hit by chemical weapons. Well, how did they respond in our media? They just said no. Just the Syrian, not the Saudi, group has launched the attack when it was the Saudi Arabians launching the attack on the Syrians. I mean, it makes my head spin because the average American can't find Syria. They can't find Saudi Arabia. I mean, I can see the Mediterranean in my mind right now, and I can see Israel. I can see Syria. I can see Israel, Lebanon, Syria to the north. To the northwest, I can see Turkey. To the northeast, I can see Iraq and Jordan. I can see Iran. I can see Georgia above that, above Syria, above Turkey. I know the players. I know who's in Lebanon. I know what percentage is Christian in Lebanon, which percentage is Coptic, which percentage is Orthodox, which percentage is Catholic. I mean, and I'm sitting there, I mean, most of these lazy CIA people, only analysts know this type of stuff, even at the CIA. They're so incredibly lazy. I'm not saying I'm anybody special, except that I don't know all the baseball scores. I don't know what Mickey Mantle pitched in 1945 or whenever he was playing baseball. I don't know what Babe Ruth's favorite dinner was. Actually, I saw a painting or a photo in a hotel talking about his favorite thing to eat in the hotel. So I guess I do know what his favorite food is. The point is, I wish I didn't know that. That is wasted space in my brain. And you bet I'm a maniac, ladies and gentlemen. I am totally sick and tired of knowing what's going on and seeing these people lie to us. And I'm going to stop ranting. I'm going to settle down right now. Justice Department launches covert sanctions against gun owners. Media denial is part of disinformation campaign. The U.S. Department of Justice is currently attacking the Second Amendment by fiat while constantly denying its abuse despite clear evidence to the contrary. I told you day one from our sources that Fast and Furious was done to blame the Second Amendment. And you know how I knew before I even had sources? In 2009, we played these on the air. We have Attorney General Holder and Big Sis and all of them at press conferences bragging how they have a gun tracking program into Mexico showing why we need to restrict the Second Amendment because guns from the Southwest are going into Mexico. And then later they said they'd never heard of the program and it was all made up. We have video of them announcing the program, not just saying that they're the ones shipping the guns in. They just said we're tracing the guns and naming the name of the program. Operation Gun Runner. Fast and Furious is a smaller section. I mean, do you know how frustrating that is? We know they ordered a stand down at Benghazi. We know they're taking giant energy deals and giving billions to their friends to launder it back in the Democratic Party in an attempt to extinct the Republican Party forever. And again, if they're able to extinct the Republican Party, there's not even that fake opposition. They don't even have to act like there's something going on. And it'll all be race politics here on out, race war, with Homeland Security playing the part of the referee between the imploding civilization. Now I'm going to settle down. I really need to settle down and go to break. And I'm going to come back and get into May Day, the communist holiday. Do you know where it comes from? Well, it comes from the ancient Druids, and they picked it up because it was cross-culture exchanges from Tyre on the Mediterranean, where they would burn children to idols. This is a National Geographic fact. This is mainline Encyclopedia Britannica. I'm going to let you know all about the religion of our owners. And of course it's a religion of killing children because they're predators. And they enjoy what they do to us. So that's all coming up today, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're going to be breaking down. And then Tosh Plumlee's coming on at the bottom of the hour, correct? All right. And then I've got all this other news I haven't gotten to yet, but it makes me so angry that if they can discriminate against gun shops and sporting goods shops and not let any bank give them a bank account outside of law, just because Obama feels like it, they can do anything. I mean, that is 1937 level Germany. That's what Adolf Hitler did. And it took him 5-6 years to get going. Up until 1939, we started just arresting everybody. And he started a war, created an internal crisis in Germany where you get away with anything he wanted and silence dissent. And that's what they're doing right now in the Middle East and Eastern Europe. They're following the tyrant's road, the tyrant's pathology, the tyrant's modus operandi, the tyrant's criminology. And I'm here watching it with abject horror, trying to get people to wake up and get motivated and get in a combat stance to deal with this. If you go to England and other areas, you can go to sites where they have dug up the remains of what they believe to be tens of thousands of people. You go to one site, and it's basically dead adults and children who had already died of natural causes, like Stonehenge. And that was a burial site, a burning site. They burned them in ditches in front of it. But you go to other standing stones, they were sacrificial sites. And the most common way to kill people all over Europe was to burn them in a large wicker man if it was a male and you wanted to have a rite for the summer coming up, to have a good harvest. You would burn the strongest man in your tribe. The Aztecs did the exact same thing, basically. The taller you were, they would kill you. That's one reason anthropologists say a lot of Mayans are so short. Well, the same stuff went on in Europe. But in different times of the year, though, when they would herald midway in spring, it was a sign of fertility. So the Aztecs would kill women and pregnant women, throwing them into pools of water. The Europeans liked to burn little kids. The Aztecs cut their hearts out, and then the priest class sold their meat below the pyramids as the main source of protein. Well, the different Druidic and Gaelic cultures, they would simply burn them. That's where you get bonfire, is a bone fire. So I wanted you to know what May Day was, and this is from the encyclopedia. May Day, May 1st, is an ancient Northern Hemisphere spring festival and usually a public holiday. It's what the communists celebrate as their day. It is also a traditional spring holiday. It coincides with International Workers' Day, and in many countries that celebrated the latter, it was referred to as May Day. Dances, singing, and cake are usually part of the celebrations of that day includes. Traditional May Day celebrations are the Celtic festival of Beltane and the Germanic festivals of Walpurgis Night, and it is the midway through the spring. And it goes through the different human sacrifices done in each country. But Beltane was the Gaelic sacrifice of children in bone fires. And all households had to light the fires, but at the central fires, they would burn children and others. So just wanted you to know where it comes from. So let's fast forward. The Middle Easterners did this as well. Tyre, other areas. It's in Leviticus. It's in Genesis. The burning of the children. Now, let's fast forward to 1776. Revolution is in the air worldwide. The Masonic order is moving in the United States, along with Christian groups and others, but they want to control it, with George Washington and others who spoke out against the Illuminati later and against the Jacobins. So you could say he was a good Mason. It's like any group, there's good and bad. And you've seen me on History Channel with a special on that, breaking it down as an expert. And I'm just giving you a gestalt right now. This is so huge and complex. But the Jacobin Society was the French name of the Illuminati, founded in 1776, 2 years after our revolution. It really already started. We're told 1775. It really started the year before. But officially 1776, July 4th. Well, the Illuminati wanted to hijack this and control revolutions. That was their whole program. They knew revolutions against old forms of corruption, a corrupt church, a decadent royalty. They wanted to not overthrow that to create equity. They wanted to overthrow that, and we have the Illuminati documents because a postwriter got struck by lightning in Bavaria, so we got it, and they admitted it was real. That's why it's in the encyclopedia, that they would actually overthrow the entire order, go to a 9-day work week, abolish the family, and that everything was just about their small group having absolute dominion to murder, slaughter, drink blood, kill everybody. And that's what the French Revolution was. Just murder, kill, death, slaughter, rape, Satan worship, 9-day work week, changing the calendar, overthrowing reality, a boot stomping on the face forever, a.k.a. George Orwell. Winston is being tortured by the Jacobins. 1984 is an occultic, communist, Jacobin revolution where society is about being ugly and evil and torturing, not about having virtue, is what O'Brien tells him. This is the system. And so the Illuminati with the Jacobins, this is like mainline history. This is not my opinion. This is in the history books. Just no one knows it. Just like people think Iran is Al-Qaeda when it's the opposite group. Saudi Arabia is Al-Qaeda. So all of that is going on, and now they're using Al-Qaeda as like their Jacobin society to stir up trouble, bring down societies, create the crisis so they can come in. A.k.a. Episode 1, 2, and 3 of Star Wars, where the Emperor stages attacks against himself to bring in a police state. I mean, it's very simple how they create order out of chaos. And George Washington said the Illuminati's trying to take over Masonry. We've got to stop them. The Jacobins are evil. The French Revolution is evil. And he stopped them in America, or we would never have had any basic freedom. So that's May Day, folks.
We're on the march. The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones.
The liberal
and the
day
GCN
is a child
Radio
sacrifice
Network.
day. Just remember that. Your devil worship. We're going to have open phones in the third hour, I promise. Unlimited, rapid, open phones. And a bunch of other news. Antibiotic crisis bigger than AIDS as common infections will kill. Who warns? It's already going on. This winter was devastating and killed 2 of my family members with just standard drug-resistant, drug-immune staph. We're going to be breaking that down and how to counter it. There are ways to counter it. We're also going to get into Nevada congressman seeks probe of armed militia operations at Cliven Bundy Ranch. They're going to have federal groups go out and target people as terrorists, just like they did with the Hatari militia, who were found not guilty. Well, the judge ordered them released and said it was a conspiracy to frame them. We're also going to get into finding the best path forward to protect the open internet. The FCC is putting out a report about protecting it while they build a new internet that they claim jurisdiction over. So we're going to be breaking that down. Snowden bashes Clapper, offers advice to would-be whistleblowers. Dr. King, family says, tells students of modern-day black genocide. We're going to be breaking that down, and a bunch of key clips I haven't even gotten to yet. We're going to go to Tosh Plumlee here in a moment. What I'm going to do is callers seem to bring up angles of things that are better questions than I ask sometimes. So we're going to take 5 calls for Tosh Plumlee after he's given the floor for about 5-10 minutes as a big Benghazi whistleblower. If you don't know who he is, with all this Benghazi news breaking, he's been told he's going to be subpoenaed, which is a gag order. So he's getting it all on record now. And he's been subpoenaed before, obviously, as a famous whistleblower on Iran-Contra and other events, even flew weapons to Castro back when he was allies with the U.S. He's been doing it since the late 50s. So if you don't know who he is, he's very well known, one of the most famous whistleblowers out there. Obviously, most people only know about the Pentagon Papers. And then other than that, they don't even know who whistleblowers are. They know who Edward Snowden is. This is one of the only Benghazi whistleblowers that hasn't been basically disappeared. They've been changing their identities, you name it. So I want to open the phones up for your quick questions, your specific questions for Tosh Plumlee. And we're limited on time, so I don't need to thank him, any of that. Just say, here's my question, Mr. Plumlee. I'd like to hear from you. And here is the number for questions or comments for Tosh Plumlee. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. And we're going to go right to him here in just a moment and let him recap or cover any other points he didn't cover yesterday about his intel from the fact that Benghazi is just part of a larger operation going on for 3.5 years, shipping heavy armaments, high-impact armaments, high-energy weapons, anti-aircraft missiles, artillery, anti-tank missiles, you name it, to radical Islamicists, mainly al-Qaeda, which is now openly admitted. Plumlee came on last year and said it in October and got threatened by the DOJ. So this is a big deal. I want to hear from you, 800-259-9231. Now, before we do that, please remember this broadcast is listener-supported. And we support ourselves with a few sponsors we've got, but mainly off the products we sell at InfoWarsStore.com, off the memberships, the Nightly News, PrisonPlanet.tv. It is vital that you understand the globalists are trying to take us out and take us down, and money is essential in our war. It's like fuel. It's energy to expand our operation, to keep our operation going well in the face of the globalists. We've got the pouches that block your phone so that the government can't track where you're at. And so you're also not getting the radiation from it when you're not using it because it still radiates. We've got a full selection of those. We've got the best gravity-fed filters, the lowest price, the ProPure systems, the G2 systems, you name it, for 10% off with promo code WATER. We have InfoWarsLife.com with the best colloidal silver out there, with the Super Male Vitality, with the discounted for the first time ever nascent proprietary survival shield, the fluoride shield, the lung cleanse. All of it are the very best revolutionary products. The iodine was our #1 product. It now looks like the Super Male Vitality may become that because people are finding out just how amazing it is. It works on women, frankly, better. But we're coming out with a female version that's been tweaked the next month. But it's all available at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free. We can answer your questions, take your order, tell you about discounts. We got pro-Second Amendment, pro-liberty, apparel, women's gun shirts that are just awesome, men's shirts made in America. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. I want to thank you all for your support. Now, going to Robert Tosh Plumlee, goes by Tosh. Most of you already know who he is. It's just that he's one of the biggest public whistleblowers out there. And he says if they gag him, as they've said the subpoena's coming, this time he will not shut up. And Tosh, A, why aren't you going to shut up? And then B, where do you see all this going? And then C, any other points you didn't make yesterday before we go to questions?
Okay, thanks, Alex, for having me on again. I appreciate it.
You bet. You're ultra low. Can you guys turn him up to me on my earpiece? Thank you. Go ahead, Tosh.
Okay, I want to say again, thanks very much, Alex, for having me on again. I appreciate that. Just hope I can explain this upfront. Wow, I didn't hear your questions that you had because you cut out like that.
No, I understand. And your phone audio is real bad. Do you have a hands-free on that?
Yeah, I do. This happened again. Every time I go on one of these things, I seem like I get lost or something. I can play around here and I'll probably lose you, but is it any better, coming in any better now?
Maybe we'll turn your highs up. Just try to talk right into the microphone. No, that's fine. Go ahead and make your points.
Okay, ask me your question again. I didn't catch it because it cut out.
Well, no, I mean, sure. Why are you saying you won't follow gag orders now? Why are you going public when you pulled your Facebook when they threatened you last year?
Well, I don't feel I should be threatened. I mean, if they had sort of left me alone, perhaps I wouldn't even went into this. The Benghazi questions were originated from information that came from a NATO source over in Afghanistan who was working that project after he'd been transferred from working the Mexico Task Force project. And in that, they found out about weapons. He contacted me, and then that started the questions about the 11 Benghazi questions I had out there. That evidently created some problems in D.C. and started them wanting to know where my contacts were. I pulled the information that I was a journalist and would not divulge those contacts. They went undercover, went down for a few months, and then came back up again, threatening me. This came out after your program, and two sources, one military and one civilian source, contacted me a few days ago and told me that I'd better watch what I was doing because the DOJ was in process of going to issue a subpoena on me. The reason that I decided to make contact was I know what happens when you're subpoenaed to go back and testify to a committee. The nature of what I'm dealing with and what I've dealt with in the past, it would be immediately classified top secret committee sensitive, and that is where the gag comes in, because at that point, if I continue to relay those questions and ask for answers, then I would be in violation of a national security statute and subject to 5, I think it was 20 years, they told me, in a federal prison. I went and talked to an attorney about this, and then he told me to be extremely careful. And then I decided, well, the only thing that I can do is, again, try to go out to the Sunshine Law and put this all out before the fact. And so that's the reason for me in the last few days going on all these programs and talking about this. What do I expect to happen? I expect that the political powers that be will try to turn this political and try to say that I am trying to undermine Mrs. Clinton's election campaign, which is not the truth. So, and I've already been told that that's what that particular group, I'll call it that way, are saying, is that Plumlee has been paid by others to go out and undermine the Clinton bid for the president. Though she hasn't said she's going to go. I have no beef with the Clintons. This is not about politics. This is about arms shipment going from our direct commercial sales program, international gun running on a large scale. The Benghazi death, the 4 guys, brought this to the surface. They tried to bury it. Ever since I was on your program last time, they tried to bury this. The only reason I devised those 11 questions, they're yes or no questions. They're very simple questions. They can ask those questions and get an answer from our elected officials. if they say no to some of those questions, and then later down the line we find out that that answer should have been yes, then we've got them in another lie and might possibly be able to bring charges and get them out of office. I sort of got roped into this. I never intended for it to go this far. I opened up the Facebook page mainly to pull all this information together into one place so that the American people or whoever's interested in this can go out and do their own research, study what they can find through me pointing the way by pulling all these articles together, not only about Benghazi, but about Mexico and about other illegal operations that I happen to know where to go to get the confirmation because of my background and association with government-black operations, dating all the way back to Contra in Cuba. So I tried to say, hey, wait a minute, we're losing our freedoms by degrees. And this is one example of how we're losing those freedoms, is by having special interests and lobbyists having direct interest, access to our elected officials for the purpose of selling weapons and making money, and then through cut-out companies going back and making those campaign contributions that they need so bad. We sent 24 letters out to the State Department, DOJ, and 5 sitting congressmen. They did not answer the questions. They did not address those questions. And the only thing that we got back from the congressman was a reform letters requesting campaign contributions. They did not address the questions, did not even make reference to what was in the body of the letters that was sent out.
It shows they're totally disconnected from reality, and their staffers didn't even show it to them. A very serious whistleblower letter. Let's expand on this now, then. Clearly, they don't want your questions to be looked at, so they want to question you, send you the subpoena that's basically a gag order. But undoubtedly, the Justice Department is, A, listening now and watching now, and B, will be creating a transcript later for Eric Holder and Hillary Clinton to read. This is the kind of stuff that will come across their desk. So there's a good chance one of these people will read it. That's obviously why you told Hillary this isn't personal, communicating to their gangster group in words that they'll understand. What do you want to say to the NSA mop-up crew and the rest of them that are listening to this?
Well, I would take it out of politics. These people, there's good people in the NSA, but there's also gatekeepers, political gatekeepers that have been put into all these organizations, mainstream media and every place else. So the good people that are actually working in our government and working for the people can't do their job. In other words, this has been a slow process of eroding. I call it America's slow coup. In other words, by infiltrating political cronies into strategic positions to be gatekeepers and suck up any derogatory information like gun running, international gun running, and other matters, and keep that from hitting on the mainstream media. Mainstream media is infiltrated with all kinds of government gatekeepers to stop information from getting to the American people so that they can make wise decisions. So I thought with my background and my experience, I can see it happening. We're losing our freedom by small degrees, gradually.
And by the way, Mr. Plumlee, they are hiding the evil in plain view. They announced last year of the, quote, legalization of CIA and others inside media, putting out psyops and disinformation. Now, that's always been going on. There's the headline, U.S. repeals propaganda ban, spreads government-made news to Americans. But it's not even government propaganda. It's criminal networks that have shut off the eyes and ears of even the government so they can get away with anything. My God, this is the biggest national security threat ever. The government has had a corporate fraudulent coup d'etat within it, and these people are so greedy that John Corzine's making 40-to-1 bets with other people's money at MF Global and not getting in trouble. That's an example of how ruthless they are. Only Bernie Madoff got in trouble because he stole money from other globalists. The globalists have gotten to the point that they are literally above the law and are so dumb They thought they could arm al-Qaeda publicly to blow up Christian churches and shoot down aircraft with missiles we gave them. They are not going to get away with this, Tosh.
Well, the reason that they do that is that they have gone on a program through many different presidents, I would say, to sensitize the people so that we don't react. Then they can slide this through. In other words, what I'm saying, leave the people into a false sense of apathy. And apathy is what's destroying this country. It's just people don't want to get involved. They don't want to know. I don't care. We're blah, 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 and all that. I mean, you hear it all the time. There's a lot of talk going out there. Everybody can define the problems that we got, but I've yet to hear any solid solutions. I've yet to see any of these organizations formulate a goal or a plan to actually make the changes. All I basically hear across the board is stating what the problem is. I've yet to hear anyone state how. Well,
I'll tell you the answer. Recognize that Holder came out and said we need to brainwash the public, and that's what's going on is literal brainwashing.
It went on before Holder. This has been going on.
No, I know, but it's coming to a head. It's kind of like termites. Termites finally eat a house so much, a big wind comes along, it blows over.
Well, our foundation is eroded, and we're about ready to fall, and they can stick a fork in us because the American people are letting it happen, and we're about done.
I agree. Here's the Attorney General, Tosh. Here it is.
We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
They are now on the news saying your children don't believe that you're their parents, the state is the parent, and we can take your guns, and world government's good. What would you call the ruling class, Tosh, as we go to break? What would you call this group of criminals? Just criminals?
I call it special interest. Follow the money. I mean, this has been going on since. Look, I was involved in the Iran-Contra. I flew C-130. In other words, I watched people quote commit suicide. I didn't watch it. I mean, my friends. All right. El Toro, Marine Naval Air Station, guns, drugs, going all over the place.
No, I know. I've had family that saw that, too. Tell you what, stay right there. We're going to come right back to Tosh Plumlee and your phone calls. Randy, Rodney, Lee, others. And listen, we take a risk having people on the air like this. I'm not trying to toot our horn or anything, but if I told you all the stories of stuff I've seen, heard, the threats, the attacks, both physical and economic, there's a bunch of them going on right now we've uncovered. It's just you just learn to deal with it and turn it over to God. Because here's the deal. We're going to have Tosh back on very soon to do a whole hour with us, not on this subject, but on all the things he saw in Iran-Contra and so much more. I know a lot of that's been gagged and sealed, but he is one of the main witnesses. All I know is they recruited heavily out of Texas, different government agencies, mainly out of the Army. So I've had quite a few family that did different stuff, some of it pretty senior and on the muscle end of things. And they all just said the government's totally evil and does horrible things. There's on the top, there's a light side and there's a dark side. And there's good people in government that are trying to do good, but they're less and less. And Tosh, I want to go to phone calls, but would you agree, though, that it's getting worse and that the light side in government is getting smaller? Or is it that the good guys just aren't able to get around the NSA now, and the courts are so corrupt? I mean, or have things always been like this?
No, in my opinion, it's getting worse. That's one reason I re-engaged myself and got active in this, if you want to call me as a whistleblower or whatever, because as over the years, as I saw this heading in that direction, eroding the Constitution, losing our freedoms, watching the appointments of the Supreme Court, looking at the agenda, the secret agenda that these administrations have, watching the hundreds and hundreds of lobbyists have access to the White House. I can't even talk to my elected representatives because they won't talk to me unless I give them a whole bunch of wad of money. When I started seeing all this kind of thing, America is going down the chute, man. We're losing our freedom.
By the way, I've talked to you off the air and your phone's clear, and you were clear during the break, and now you're distorted. They're definitely messing with your phone on purpose right now. Usually I say it's...
I know.
Not
this happened yesterday on Hagman and Hagman, too. Same thing.
Now, let's go ahead and talk to Randy. Randy in Oklahoma, you're on the air. Go ahead. Go ahead, Randy. You got a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, talking to your phone. Go ahead.
Yeah, are you there?
Damn right I am, brother.
Yeah, we're here.
I've been here the last 3 times. I got to move on. Tell Randy thanks. Rodney in North Carolina, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah. How you doing, Alex?
I'm all right. Go ahead. You got a question?
Yeah, all right. We know this government's treasonous. They're doing everything they can to go against the people itself. The Benghazi thing alone, I seen the video as the attack was going on live on Al Jazeera TV over there. I posted the video on Facebook, and it got removed, and I was told I was in violation of content. Now, how do we remove this government and put in a whole new government?
Okay, if that's your question, I have a simple answer for you. Which our whole farce have really screwed things up as far as the political ramifications that are going on in this country. We need the young generation to get out here and get active. Study. Go out here. Find the answers for yourself. Do your own research and come to your own conclusion.
We could also have JAG military courts start to investigate the criminality, but they'd be arrested immediately. But maybe we need that flashpoint to happen. Grand juries indicting. Go ahead.
Okay. This has not happened overnight. This situation where the corruption in this government has been a slow, creeping process through 4 or 5 administrations. We've watched it. But here's the point. If the American people had been at least interested in what was going on in the halls of D.C. through our Congress and our Senate and our POTUS, if we just listened to what was going on rather than being diverted out here trying to make a living or whatever the hell we are watching back.
No, that's why they want us poor, is so we're too busy. Stay there. We're going to make it 1 minute and more of your phone calls. Stay with us. I've looked at every angle of this foreign banking takeover that's infiltrated our government with special interest. The only way they're going to pull it off is race war, division. So we got to come together against this criminal system. Tosh Plumlee's our guest till about 15 after this little short segment and one other. We'll take your phone calls, and it's going to be open phones for everybody. There's also a bunch of other breaking news at Infowars.com that I'll get to in the next segment. Van Rompuy, that's the former head of the EU, unelected EU, will control Europe and flank Russia. Senator to blast TSA. Fast food joints do better employee background checks. Justice Department launches covert sanctions against gun owners. That is such a big article. I mean, this is such a big deal. IMF demands Ukraine risk World War III in return for bailout money. Tosh Plumlee's our guest. Computane, if I'm pronouncing it right. We're going to you in Arizona. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Alex.
Hey, brother.
Hey, I want to focus on methods and tactics that Tosh is experiencing. Based on his experience and observations on previous incidents, is there anything unusual with the methods and tactics that this racketeering government is using against him? And if he were in full control of the faculties and prepared to respond to an attack, are there major flaws in the tactics that are being used against him?
Well, that's a mouthful. I'm not sure how to answer the question.
Tosh, I think what he's asking is you say it's getting worse, but you've been doing this 50-something years, are just a famous contractor. How have things changed? And I mean, I think you're saying we got to have courage, speak up, and say no.
All right, here's the thing. The way I say it, it's escalated. I'm just going to go back to Iran-Contra. I testified with Kerry. I got gagged on that. It was a classified committee synthesis, top secret. Then when I continued out and I wrote an article, I didn't write it, but a friend of mine wrote it. I gave a reader. I run drugs runs with BAM. Named all the staging points, the aircraft IDs, the people involved, and everything else for the sole purpose to protect myself. I was called in front of the committee. I raised my right hand, and then they sealed committee sensitive. And then, when I asked for a transcript, they told me, well, you don't have a classification or a security clearance, so therefore you can't see your own testimony. And then if I went out and talked about it, I could possibly be in violation of a national security statute. And I could receive up to 5 to 10 years in federal penitentiary. All right. The fact that I admitted that I was a cocaine smuggler into this country and taking U.S. weapons out of this country to a secret base in Santa Elena was pretty heavy information at that particular time. I was warned at that stop I had better not do this. I had better not go on. Anyway, there's a whole story behind all that. Okay, Senator Hart wrote a letter to both committees, and it's been posted on my Facebook page and it's been posted on the Internet. Bill contacted him and put all the maps and everything out for the sole purpose to protect me from going to a federal prison because I admitted that I'd flown cocaine, as much as 40 tons of cocaine, into this country on C-130. I admitted that. But it was a sanctioned operation supposed to be interdiction. The interdiction went to El Toro Marine Naval Air Station, and the evidence then was filtrated, and the drugs got out on the street. Also, at the same time, when we come back on those C-130s, we're flying weapons from the 82nd Airborne that went on maneuvers down in Honduras. Those weapons were taken off the GAO books as being destroyed and lost in airdrops. Those weapons went to an island off Panama, stored there, taken back to El Toro Marine Naval Air Station, and then transferred by truck to China Lake to be retrofitted, and then sent back to a drug runner's base known as Carl Quintero at Veracruz, where he was receiving $10,000 a month in CIA money to use his branch and air base as a refueling stop for the formation of the Southern Front.
Stay there. It's incredible. We'll do one more segment. Well, Tosh Plumlee, one of the most famous Iran-Contra, you name it, whistleblowers ever, still flies contracts for the CIA because he's been a congressional testimony that was authorized, so they can't stop him from still having his job. He has broken huge Benghazi information last year that's now been vetted and confirmed by a lot of the information that's been coming out. So he's gotten contacted. The Justice Department subpoena is coming. That will basically gag him. It'll say that he's not allowed to talk about it. Once he testifies, they'll then say all of that is secret and he can never talk about it again, like he did with Iran-Contra. But if you just joined us in the last segment, he put all his cards on the table and just started talking about, I personally in flights flew 40 tons of cocaine into the United States, Iran-Contra, sanctioned by the White House. I flew the guns back out. Well, that's all admitted now, but his testimony was sealed. So I guess in a way, he just broke that gag order. Or has that gag order, that national security order, elapsed? Or are you just really getting in their face, Tosh?
I'm really getting in their face. In other words, I've been told it hasn't elapsed. That's what my attorney told me. I better not go on the air and keep talking about this because I'm going to get myself in a lot of trouble. My feeling is this. I want it out there before the fact. In other words, and documented, invented by many different sources, which I have done, and that's the reason I opened up my Facebook page and started compiling all this stuff together to protect me, because I knew if I continued to talk mainly about Iran-Contra and the weapon shipments in violation of the Bolton Amendment, the setting up of the Southern Front and Point West of the secret air base at San Alina, and C-130 flights going in there and documented in the Grasshopper and all these secret coded interdiction programs, alleged interdiction programs, I figured, man, hey, in answer to the other gentleman's question, how did it escalate? It started escalating at that point. That's the reason I brought up Iran-Contra. It started escalating at that point. I began to realize, hey, wait a minute. We have another entity out here. The average 8 to 5 American cannot comprehend that other world that lives out there. The world of pilots, the loaders, the refuelers, the secret air bases, Paco Solo in Central America, John Hull's Ranch, who receives $10,000 a month in CIA money, Point West, Oliver North, 16 felonies, suddenly paroled and becomes an American hero, and then passes judgment on a pilot like me. In other words, these kind of things upset. But so, then you're sitting here and you're saying, well, what do I do about it? Do I do like everybody else? Do I sit and piss and moan about it? Or am I going to do something about it? I'm a C-130 pilot now, and I get contracted with CIA. Okay, if I piss the CIA off, I don't really care. They pissed me off. In other words, I'm talking way out of school, and I know that. But somebody's got to get out here and rattle the American people and get them off the couch and get them engaged. And the way to do it is get them engaged and start studying and reading what the hell is really going on in this country, and then get out and use their God-given rights and their talents and put a stop to it. That's all I can say about that.
Sure, I want to go back to calls. Powerful. I want to go back to calls, sir, but specifically, when you look at all of this, the public has been in denial. or they feel powerless. And the big issue is this is getting worse and worse. The tyranny is expanding. And to show how they gave you a thin cover, they told you it was interdiction, that you were getting the cocaine and flying it back here, because I remember reading the Iran-Contra files that were public, to destroy the cocaine. You then learned that that really wasn't going on.
Well, some of it was, and some of it wasn't. The special ops that were filtering into the bin raised up the money to get guns for the Contra. That doesn't mean that that was a complete government-sanctioned operation, but it was run out of the White House, period. In other words, through cutouts and so on like that. I was on CBS about our Forest Service aircraft being used as cutouts to private companies in order to carry the drugs down there. I mean, there is another world out there that the 8 to 5 do not understand that even exists. And all I've been trying to do is say, wait a minute, this matter is escalating. In other words, to answer your question, I hope I got it right. So I start seeing this happen. Then I start seeing my buddies going to jail. Then I start seeing some of them committing suicide. Then I start seeing character assassination. And then I had the character assassination applied upon me. In other words, the best way to stop an operation is control the communication. I started watching gatekeepers being infiltrated in the mainstream media to suck up any information that may be derogatory to our ongoing wound.
No, I understand. And they killed, what do you know about Barry Seal and others being killed?
Barry Seal was killed by Colombians that was tipped off by our own government. So basically, I say during the Reagan administration, that information was leaked out to the very people, which it could possibly happen to me, in a way that brought them in. How the hell did they get into this country as illegal to come out here and gun him down sitting in his Cadillac when the judge put him in a safe house? Yes, Barry Seal was my friend. I flew the fat lady. I flew it out of Mena. I flew the fat lady in to get a seal. I helped set up the camera to photograph Bond and them in Central America. I'm the shadow warrior that someone has referred to when my dossier was classified top secret. I'm a CIA operative, field operative, but I'm one step beyond that. I'm also in the Pentagon with a crew known as Praetorian Guard. Now, I've said it. I've told me, you can't say that. You're going to go to jail for saying that. Okay, I'm saying it to you, Alex. I'm saying it right on your program. It's just as solid as I can. I don't know how else to say it. We are involved in an international gun-running operation. Benghazi came up, and I'm not going to have our political people turn this into a political thing by saying that I am coming out here to raise the Benghazi question so that I destroy the possibility of Hillary Clinton's running for the office of the presidency. That is bullshit. Or that is not my motive. My motive is to get to the American people that you're being stolen from. Our tax dollars are going down the drain. I'm not taking an issue. I'm not a radical. Call me what you want. But the point is, the reality of it is that this has been a slow coup. The reality is openly giving al-Qaeda heat-seeking missiles is too much for you, and you're not going to be part of it. No, I'm not going to be part of it. I talked to a couple of C-130 pilots that are pissed off. They're still military. They can't talk like they're doing. They say, my God, you won't believe I just got refueled, air-to-air refueling, in order to get weapons from the direct commercial sales program to the Middle East and stored them at a safe house in Jordan, a CIA safe house in Jordan, Pakistan. That broke out a little bit a few months ago, and the gatekeepers immediately squashed it. Also, back to Gary Hart. Gary Hart wrote a letter to the Senate Armed Services Committee and the Senate Intelligence Committee. He released all the maps. He released all the flight plan to Bill Holden, his security advisor. All of them went to the Senate Armed Services Committee and the Senate Intelligence Committee. He wrote a letter, sent it back to me. I posted it on the Internet. The last paragraph of that letter says they failed to investigate any of it because they had already known about it. It was a sanctioned operation. It was a secret operation run out of the White House. Our Senate and our Congress already knew about it, but they didn't tell the American people about it. And when Gary Hart wrote the letter asking for an investigation, because that was the only reason that I went to the man and said, hey, I want to get a congressional investigation into this because I'm running guns illegally to a southern front in violation of the Boland Amendment. What do I do, Mr. Senator? I've done exactly what me as an American citizen was supposed to do. I was supposed to contact contact my senator and sit down and expose an illegal operation. At that point in time, I was a government employee. According to federal law, it is my responsibility if I become aware of any illegal operation that involves taxpayer money. It is my obligation to report that to my supervisor or my community office.
That's right. Your phone's breaking up. But it is the law. You're supposed to report illegal stuff, but then they'll try to use some national security issue on you and now throw you in jail for 20 years, not 5. And Obama has prosecuted more people with that than any other president before him. I want to go to some phone calls and skip this network break because this is so historical. You're hearing a major CIA contractor, one of the most famous ones ever, also with a deep cover Pentagon. He just gave the code name for that. And Tosh Plumlee, Robert Tosh Plumlee. Robert Tosh Plumlee is his Facebook. We have the information mirrored at Infowars.com. This is Infowars. And we saw the military, by the thousands, including officers, holding up over their face in uniform last year signs saying, "I will not attack Syria for al-Qaeda." And so I think they went too far trying to openly arm al-Qaeda. And that's what Benghazi was all about. And so Tosh Plumlee is blowing it all wide open and explaining what it's really all about. Tosh, I want to go to phone calls here because we're only going to the bottom of the hour, and I appreciate your time. We're going to go to Lee and Sean and Gigi and Raymond and Carlos. So be ready, callers, with your question, with your phone ready. But before I go any further, just briefly, you can just prove the State Department knew and that Benghazi, with your sources and your questions, was part of this program, so they knew, and it wasn't really a embassy substation. That's come out from other military sources like Colonel Schaefer, and boy, they came down on him when he came on this show, and he had to kind of backtrack some. But expanding on that, what happened? Was it a rogue group stealing the weapons? Did the ambassador not go along with it? Were they planning a fake kidnapping as a new diversion, hostage crisis for Obama? Because we know the al-Qaeda force running the city of Benghazi was the hired State Department security. What are you being told really happened at Benghazi?
Okay, what started all this was a source of mine, a friend of mine, was transferred from the task force operating in Mexico to Afghanistan, and then it was attached to a NATO field command. In that process of NATO field command, he turned out about finding weapons, U.S. weapons, being stashed at annexed buildings and also in safe houses in Jordan and Pakistan. It was trying to leak out. Then when the weapons were stolen or pilferated, then they started showing up and not Syrian rebels, but in various different groups. These weapons started grenades, RPGs, launchers, grenade launchers. All this stuff started showing up in other hands. This was before the rebels, whatever you call the rebels, the Syrian rebels. But before we were even trying to arm them. So, and then here's the thing. This is what my source told me, and this is what motivated me. Ambassador Stevens found out about this. He made a complaint in writing back to the State Department, complaining about the weapons and how and why was these weapons getting into these people's hands. There's dispatches for that. There's more than one memo. State Department is sitting on those memos. Now, just recently, first State Department says, "Oh, no, he's full of crap. We don't have nothing like that." Same thing. They told him, "Oh, we don't have any documentation." And then after push for answers on this Benghazi thing, they finally come out with emails that shows that they actually knew every damn thing about those weapons, even to the extent of how those weapons were being infiltrated.
Well, let me stop you right there. Out of all the things I just threw out, I brought that up to Colonel Schaefer weeks after it happened. He said, that's the word. It was a hit to take out Stevens. He got in a bunch of trouble, so he said, I'm just saying it was a planned hit. The point is, that's the best intel. We know the weapons were for al-Qaeda. We know the ambassador from Turkey was there. They were supposed to ship them up there. We know Turkey's been the main conduit, along with Saudi Arabia. It's all confirmed. So they wanted to take Stevens out because he was going to end up testifying to Congress. And then when the Navy SEALs didn't stand down, the sheep-dipped CIA former Navy SEALs came, and 2 of them held down the al-Qaeda force. for those 6-7 hours. That gave it time for the overhead drones to see what was happening, so the military found out there was a stand-down so Al-Qaeda could kill everybody at the base, and they tried to kill everybody else that fled, who got tipped off at checkpoints as well. But the whole thing, because it was badly managed, leaked out and blew up in Obama's face.
Well, that's about the size of it. My information coincides with that information. In other words, this has been vetted from many, many different sources. But at the time, when the Benghazi questions were arraigned, they said they were all crazy. There was nothing to these questions, but yet they refused to answer them. I would just like to take one of those questions and ask direct POTUS. Have someone that has access to POTUS ask him just one of these questions. Get it on the record. What does he have to say about that question? Yes or no? Very simple answer. Yes or no. There's 11 questions posted up there. It's been all over the Internet since September. Why are these people refused to answer those questions? Those questions are not that complicated. They're very simple. Now, Benghazi, we lost 4 good people because of our intelligence failure. That doesn't mean that we have a bad intelligence network. It means that we have gatekeepers that have infiltrated those networks, instigated by our own political structure, if I'm explaining.
And that basically makes the country blind in the end, having all these triple agents of corporate interest inside government. These people are the biggest threat.
That's it. In other words, this has been a slow coup. Like I say, it's been ongoing for years. This didn't happen overnight. In other words, we have been infiltrating people. Call them CIA, call them whatever. I say they're one group beyond CIA. In other words, I don't blame the CIA for all this. There's damn good people in the CIA, but they can't get past those gatekeepers. They can't get past those non-qualified gatekeepers that are put in those positions by the politics of the time, whether it be Bush era, Clinton era, or Obama era. Who is the man behind the curtain? Who's pulling the string? Who is in charge of this international gun-running operation? Is there an international gun-running operation ongoing today? All I'm asking is for the American people, get off their couch, go out, check out, research, investigate, and come to your own conclusion.
Powerful insider knowledge. The secret of Benghazi released and confirmed here on air. We're risking our lives to bring you this information, especially Tosh. Pray for us. This isn't a game. Lee, you're in Ontario, Canada. Thanks for holding her on the air.
Hi, Alex. Tosh. Okay, Alex, to me it looks like exactly what you were talking about yesterday with the gaslighting. This administration is so good at gaslighting all these scandals, and let's face it, they've had their own share of scandals, and gaslighting is something they've gotten really good at. Tosh, you've been around for, I think you were born in 1937, so you've been around through a few administrations. Seems like the people at the top, they never really change. The motives don't change. It seems like the American public now, I wouldn't know because I'm 28 years old, but it seems like generations, they have changed drastically while the people at the top haven't changed. What makes it in this generation? Do you think this generation, with all these scandals and the fact that we've really done nothing about them or don't seem too interested in it, do you think we have the capability of peacefully assembling and doing something about it?
Absolutely. Tosh, the same question. Yeah. What do we do about it?
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yes, we do have the ability. That's the reason. In other words, it's time for if you want to call it rebel rousing or what the heck ever you call it, you've got to do something to motivate this younger generation, because the older generation has already contaminated this so bad that they themselves cannot untangle it. In other words, we are so indebted to some of these politicians that we have put in there, and their lobbyists and their cronies, and they're the ones that we've got to get rid of. Here's the problem. We've got a Congress and we've got a Senate that is totally contaminated with gatekeepers that we have put in position ourselves during these elections. I don't know if these elections are real or not. I'm not going to get off on theory. The point is this. Infiltration has started over the years and then migrated to where it is today. In other words, the people that are really for the Constitution and love their country and work for the government can't do their job because when they find out something that could be derogatory against fitting POTUSes, then they are not allowed.
That's right. So we need more people in the system and outside the system to speak out, have a moral revival. That's the answer. And Tosh Plumlee's leading it with his courage. Sean.
Get a march on D.C. like we did in the 60s. In other words, get everybody together that wants to save this Constitution. And I don't mean be radical, and I don't mean be a non-peaceful, and I don't mean going threatening, and I don't mean get a bunch of armed militia showing up, pointing guns at everybody. That's not the way to do it. The way to do it is get a combined effort and make a march on Washington and demand.
Sure. And support broadcasts that tell the truth and whistleblowers. All right, Sean in Pennsylvania, you're on the air. What's your question?
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's a pleasure to talk to Tosh and you, Alex.
Man, these phones are too bad. I appreciate your call. And, I just figured something out. When we take phone calls here, they're better. I'm going to go to our system. Genesis phone system is degrading. I know it had problems last week, and the callers have bad phones as well, but it is just unintelligible half the time. So if you hear a caller who you can't understand their phone, Genesis, they can't come on as a caller. Ramon in Florida.
Well, I'm getting spikes all over my phone here, so I don't know where that's coming
from. Who knows? Go ahead. Ramon in Florida, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Am I intelligible, sir?
Yes, go ahead. Ask your question.
All right. First things first. You were involved in the Iran-Contra scandal, Mr. Plumlee, and obviously the black community was affected most by, the crack epidemic and these situations. So I wanted to know your opinion on how can I get my people more involved and get them to understand better that all these problems affect all of us. It's not just a white thing. It's not just Clive and Bundy thing. It's an everyone thing. We should all rally around one another when we see these situations happening where, people are getting taken advantage of. And what's your opinion on how we can unite? Because the last caller touched on it, but my community is most affected by this because they don't have the knowledge. They haven't been taught all these situations like the Iran-Contra.
No, that's a great question, Tosh. Tosh, don't Americans just have to come together regardless of race, religion, or creed for freedom?
Yeah, definitely. But look, that's one of the ways that they destroy the credibility of people that do the research and come forward. They play the race card against them. I'm sorry Mr. Bundy said the same thing that he said, but there again, that's no reason to put the emphasis on race and then, blah, 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 and forget what the real problem is. I'm not saying I condone what.
No, I totally understand. They're diverting with little issues while the government shipping in the narcotics and laundering it. They're setting up checkpoints on the highway looking for drugs they shipped in. Tosh Plumlee, we're going to talk to you again very soon. God bless you, folks. Check out his Facebook. This is the real world. I mean, Tosh Plumlee is a famous two-time whistleblower that's really out of the Pentagon. You heard him give out secret information on air. Praetorian Guard, Pentagon groups. Those are guys that have been in there forever. And just basically say, we're not going to give missiles to Al-Qaeda. That's how out of control this criminal group is, that they think you're so stupid that they'll give weapons to Al-Qaeda to blow up churches. And it does show that the moral evil has gotten so out of control that people are now risking their lives to tell you the truth. The AP is now reporting that, back in 1985, U.S. provides $500,000 so Afghan rebels can tell their story. And then see on 9/11, a group of them were protected to be involved in what they were involved in. And then Saudi Arabia, when Al-Qaeda took the blame for what they were involved in, but solely took the blame, then they get rewarded with the whole Middle East later. This deal was made a long time ago. It transcends Obama. It transcends these groups. Believe me, I study this stuff 24/7. We told you within days what Benghazi was, a hit. When you got almost an 8-hour stand down while they try to kill 4 people in a building, and they tell you the White House didn't know about it, they gave the order to kill those people. And that's what I've said day one. We know they're lying about it. We know it was a gun-running operation. We know they had 3 warehouses full of weapons. We know the ambassador from Turkey was there. We now know that Al-Qaeda launched chemical attacks on Syria to blame them. It's all come out. It's in mainstream Turkish news and the BBC even that Turkey ran false flags to blame Syria again this year. And it's the defense minister with the top general, and the defense minister is going, you know, I'd really like maybe a terror attack like this or maybe an attack on our bases like that. And the general goes, man, look, we do that all the time. Stop talking about it over the phone. You can read the transcript. We know what to do. And obviously the Russians are there. They've got their own systems stealing all those communications. And the general, we read the stuff 2 weeks ago on air, is like, minister, stop talking about it. Just say you want it. We know what to do. We do this all the time. There's the headline. Why Turkey was planning a false flag operation in Syria. That's Infowars.com wrote about it. That's Zero Hedge. But it was also in the BBC. And now it comes out, and the public doesn't even know what that is. But it's so funny reading the transcript, and the audio was released. I just don't speak Turkish. And he's going, maybe you bomb our base. Maybe you blow up hotel. Maybe you attack this. Maybe you attack that. Maybe you hit our troops. And the general's like, we know what to do. Yes, just tell us to do it. We'll do something. We've got plans. I told you one of the first things WikiLeaks released in a group of documents back in, I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 years ago. And I'd covered it on air at nauseum. This was about 5 years ago when it was first happening. I don't remember how many years ago it was. Look it up. Here's the headline, WikiLeaks. Army manual talks about false flag. That'll bring it up. And it's for captains in special operations in the Army who are in special infiltration, force multiplication operations, classic Green Beret type operations. And it talks about in emergencies, if you need to motivate a village that's not going along with you, for their own good, of course, you blow some people up and blame it on an enemy. This has been going on forever. U.S. counterinsurgency manual leaked, calls for false flag operations, suspension of human rights. And there is the document at WikiLeaks. U.S. Special Forces, go back to the top, I'm going to read it, thanks. Foreign internal defense tactics, techniques, and procedures for special forces, FM 31-20-3, 2003. But that's when the manual was issued. It came out, I think, 2008. I'm going from memory, 2009. Yeah, it came out in 2008. Why don't I just read the page? I'm just so run off my memory, not even the document. There it is. And there they are telling folks about how they're going to be sent for special classes. And they go on to say, we've learned about running death squads and propping up corrupt governments in Latin America, but how do we keep that in place? The document, which is official U.S. Special Forces policy, directly advocates training paramilitaries, pervasive surveillance, look at America, censorship, press control, restrictions on labor unions and political parties, suspending habeas corpus, Patriot Act, warrantless searches, detainment without charge, NDAA, bribery, employing terrorists, false flag operations, concealing human rights abuses from journalists, and extensive use of psychological operations, propaganda, to make these and other population and resource control measures palatable. That's what it's called, population and resource control. We are the human resource. But not all of the Special Forces officers get these. Those psychologically tracked, traced, tested, and shown that they want to be winners are taught how to win. And let me tell you how you win. You grab a little boy in the village, and you torture him and put cigarettes out all over him and electrocute him, and then you pull up in a car when you know people are walking to work or whatever from the village, and you act like they catch you throwing the body out in the uniforms of your enemies. That's a simple one. And you can kill one little kid and get the whole town on your side. Now, men, do you do that to save the whole region from corruption and to not have to have a full-scale war that could kill hundreds of thousands? Or do you kill the one little boy per town? The end justifies the means, Machiavelli. And you've been chosen because you've shown you're willing to do what it takes to win for good. See, that's the whole Apocalypse Now Colonel Kurtz deal, where he talks about they come in and inoculate the special forces, the Vietnamese kids, and so the regular Viet Cong military comes along and chops off all the arms of the inoculation. Of course, the story is it's a good inoculation. So, you know, but still, don't take anything from the GIs, or we're going to cut your arm off. And he says they weren't bad men. They weren't evil men. They were trained cadres. They had women and children. They were married. They did it. They were loving men. It hit me like a diamond bullet that this is what we have to build. This is what we have to do. And the other special forces killer that's been sent to kill him realizes he's completely insane. No, Colonel Kurtz is not insane according to the real strategies that were employed in Vietnam. And I'm telling you, you don't win wars like this, ladies and gentlemen. But you wouldn't be in an immoral war if you were moral. You have to have the moral high ground to win wars. And then, even if you don't have the good weapons, history shows you cannot be defeated long term. That's why the globalists all day talk about how they're moral and they're good and they're great and they care and they've got all the answers and you're bad and you're racist and you're this and that, because they need the moral high ground. The attacks we suffer constantly are that I'm not moral and I'm fake and I'm this and that, because the government listens to my phones and tracks me. They know I'm completely real and fearless and committed. Do I eat too much sometimes? Sometimes under stress. Do I drink too much? Sure. Everybody's human. Do I go years sometimes without drinking a beer? Yes. I don't even smoke cigars anymore. But when it comes to being moral, I'm extremely moral. Compared to most people, I'm very moral. I won't cheat people. I pay my crew. I don't... I mean, most people in the entertainment industry, as they would call this, I'm not in entertainment, but that's what it's genre, you know, news, media. Almost everybody that works for History and Discovery Channel, all these things now, work for free. Even establishment camera people that have been working 20, 30 years have to work a lot of time for free or almost nothing just to stay in the industry, because they don't understand that they all sold themselves out so cheap. There's a glut now. And I get calls all the time, and they go, "You want to be on our TV show?" And I go, "Yeah, $20,000. Well, we don't pay people. Well, good. You're not going to talk to me. Boom. And it's not even about the money. It's about these whores in the mainstream media are going to pay me. Pay up. You understand that? And I'm going to use that money back against you. I don't play your little stinking games. I give the good people of America the best products, the lowest prices we can bring you that I personally vetted and use. We fund ourselves off goodwill and off of being honorable and high quality. But when it comes to the establishment, sometimes they offer me money, and I say, I'm just not going to do it. Well, we are the such and such, you know, New York Times. You don't want us to come down to your offices? And I say, no. What, so you can act like you're a journalist and act like you found out who I really am? I've already learned that lesson. I don't do it anymore. I'm not bragging here. I'm just telling everybody Hollywood and the whole culture has nothing to offer. I've been in big movies. I've been at the big parties. I've been out on the boats and the private jets. I've seen it all. I've been at the highest mountains of crap. And let me tell you, all of you that feel inadequate and believe in this system, or are scared what your neighbor thinks about you, or don't feel good because your car isn't the nicest, none of that means anything. What matters is what you stand for. What matters is who you really are. And the system knows that. They don't have the moral high ground. And finally, our military and the CIA and everybody else, most of these guys really believe they're good guys. Most of these guys really believe, at least in the past, that they were trying to do good. You'd have small criminal networks at the top that manipulated everybody, and that was what they were masters of, was deceiving people. Now the CIA doesn't want the top of the class. The CIA doesn't want the athlete star quarterback. The CIA doesn't want the person that's never stolen or been in trouble. They just want a bunch of political operatives to go around and lie and spy on people. It's a bunch of wimps. The CIA's basically gotten 20 times bigger the last decade. I'm being serious. With sub-operatives just everywhere. They've never been shot at. They've never been in fist fights. They've never been in the jungle. They have never killed anybody. They don't know anything. And they're all going to manage the military and the paramilitary and the contractors. And they're going to be your political officers, literal snot-nosed 30-year-olds who've never done anything, who've got Ivy League educations. They're going to sit around and literally urinate on you. We are ruled by a bunch of degenerate, inbred nobodies, the white shoe boys that Gerald Celente talks about. And here's the deal. You white shoe boys can't run a murder of the ambassador properly, can you? You can't even do evil well, scum. You are a joke and a liability to this country at every level. And what I'm saying by that is everything's going to collapse. Notice how our military and police now dress like third world dictators. The most serious militaries wear the most simple uniforms. You know a country's in decline when people are wearing clown suits. I mean, I didn't know most police chiefs were auditioning for Hollywood to play the part of a Mexican general. Or some kind of clown outfit like Muammar Gaddafi. You people are a joke. Why do you think the Israelis wear the most simple uniforms everyone's ever had? Because everyone knows that clowns wear big suits and outfits. I just cannot handle it. I mean, I was sitting there the other night out with friends. I don't even want to get into it. I just can't handle it. I said I'd go to your phone calls, and I am. Oh, there's so much news. I get in here and I read it all. It's just like, oh my gosh. I mean, you crooks that are running the whole New World Order system are just absolutely out of your minds. You have smoking your own propaganda, your own dope. The country is falling apart, idiots. Your families are being injected with cancer viruses when you take vaccines. You're drinking fluoride every day. You're not dumb enough working for the system as an FBI agent or CIA or Defense Intelligence or the State Department to actually believe you're part of the ruling elite. You people are opening the drawbridge to our destruction. You're not even opening the drawbridge to some foreign power that's better. You're opening the drawbridge to the end of everything good, and you think you're cool because you've got a intelligence clearance. They give those out in Cracker Jacks boxes now, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know they've tried to recruit every dentist my dad knows into a sheep-dipped Homeland Security / CIA program, and almost every other professional out there is being recruited? Do you understand this is a total criminal takeover, and people sell their whole birthright out because some mid-level lackey operative, minion comes by and pats you on the head and takes you to a meeting? They don't even, I talk to major publishers, they don't even pay their editors and people hardly anything now. They just call everyone associated editor. And they go, no, they will take that in lieu of money. We can pay somebody at a major magazine $30,000 a year who would have been making $100,000 a year 10 years ago. They'll quit if we just cut their pay. But if we make them an associate editor, they will literally take a 70% cut to say they're the editor of Texas Monthly. I was hypothetical. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the type of stuff that we're talking about here. You're selling out for, what's the word in The Wolf of Wall Street? Fugazi, and he says it wrong. Fugazi. It's just fairy dust. It's nothing. Having the Bill of Rights and Constitution and private property and the government being small and treating you with respect and fearing the people, that's prosperity, that's strength. Not all these TV shows where everybody's a CIA agent and everybody's an FBI and it's all so cool and, oh my gosh, look at our helicopters, look at our badges. It's all a big narcotics, child trafficking devil cult that celebrates itself on May Day. I'm going to do Overdrive. Ellen in Maine, you're up next. Then Alvin in Connecticut, Alan, Bob, and others. Your calls are coming up straight ahead. I didn't really plug anything this hour. Buy books, videos, tapes, great water filters, great supplements. The very best stuff is at InfoWarsStore.com, and become a subscriber at PrisonPlanet.tv. Briefly, I haven't really plugged this. The banners are up on InfoWars.com. Then I'm going to go to your calls in this segment and the next. I'm going to be speaking coming up May 31st. It's an all-day event at the Porter Stansberry Investment Meeting that goes all day. And I'm the featured speaker right below the #1 speaker, billionaire T. Boone Pickens. So that should be interesting. Cactus Schroeder, Bill Murphy, Van Simmons, and myself, Alex Jones. And as investment conferences go, this is really not that much money for the type of place it's being held at. But you can find out more. Our listeners, the 25% discount. And you can simply go to Infowars.com and follow the banners there that you see over to it. And the website is, I forget the exact URL that people go to be able to see that. I think it's on this sheet, but I'll try to find that. You guys hit refresh on the deal so I get this ad copy in it, earlier, and I don't think it even has the web address on it. But I'll give that out sometime. I don't think I've ever been given an ad copy that had everything on it. But the point is that's up on Infowars.com. And it's going to be an interesting event, so I hope to see you out there. That'd be nice. And again, I'll just go to Infowars.com. If you hit refresh enough, it comes up. Yeah, it's AlexJonesDallas.com, so I got it for you there. AlexJonesDallas.com. Okay, let's go ahead and talk to Elaine in Maine. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes. Hi, Alex. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
I just wanted to call, and I really appreciate you taking my call, by the way. I wanted to call, and I wanted to thank Tosh Plumlee, especially, for putting it all on the line, and for the courage it really, really takes to do what he just did. I listened to the whole thing, and it's amazing how corrupt and treasonous,
He personally flew 40 tons. He personally...
so corrupt. It's unbelievable. I can't get over it.
He personally flew 40 tons of cocaine into the U.S. That's certified by Congress.
That's disgusting. That is... I can't believe that the government is that corrupt, and I do believe it. I know it now to be a fact, and I just don't know how they keep getting away with it. I don't know
how cops ask me if I have drugs on me.
I don't know how our media, how decent people in any walk of media, whether it's radio or TV or entertainment, how they can ignore what's happening to our country, and
no, you're right.
How this government is destroying everything that they and we, that we love.
I agree, Elaine. Thank you for the call. All major governments keep narcotics and other drugs illegal as a secret global currency that they control. Just like art is a secret global currency. But drugs are even bigger. And they keep it secret so they can make money off of it. And everybody knows it. It's just such a joke. The answer is don't use their filthy products. Kids, drugs are not cool. And so are the prescription ones they push. They're even worse. Bob in California, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex.
Go ahead.
Looks like we live in a big hypocrisy here. We've got Reagan, the Bush-Reagan administration, their war on drugs, and their guys bringing it in.
No, I know, but that's a conspiracy theory, even though it's admitted.
Yeah, and if you get caught with the product, you too.
Yeah, caller, I'm going to fade that out from you down a little bit and let you finish talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, you going to break now?
Yeah, I am, but we're having a lot of audio problems today. I'm not sure. You're up and down, so I'll just take us out to break dry. And we'll come back and maybe take a few calls in overdrive here. It's always fun around here. Stay with us. All right, Alan, Alvin, and Truth Raider. It's all I got time for in overdrive. As we start this hour off with your phone calls. So let's go ahead and talk to Alan in California. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Alex, hey, it's an honor to talk to you.
No need to say that, brother. We're in survival mode, but thank you for calling.
Yeah, I'm out here in Sonoma County, about 40 minutes from Bohemian Grove.
That's right. On May Day, they like to sacrifice children all over the world. It's the high satanic holy day. I'm going to cover it later.
Yeah, that creeped me out, man. When I heard about that, I was like, oh, man, are you serious?
Why are you being bigoted against burning children? Part of a culture.
They had a shooting over here not too long ago. Andy Lopez, the 12-year-old Hispanic, shot here in Santa Rosa. And they also had Oscar Grant and Thomas Kelly. It's like they're trying to divide the people, but the government doesn't really care, what really color you are. They're just trying to use racism. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't played that video yet of the cops shooting someone running out of was it a Walmart or a Target with something they stole? So they shoot him in the back 3 or 4 times. We have that video. Yeah, we could roll that right now just to show TV viewers. But that was in Long Beach. And I tell you, it's getting scary. I mean, we get treated worse than folks in Fallujah.
Oh, man. I was wondering, the people out here are looking for justice, and I was thinking, I'm like, the reason why nobody's getting any justice out here is because the NSA is breathing down their necks. And I'm wondering if... Well,
see, Foucault wrote about this, but France had something called the Panopticon, and it was a tower in the middle of a circular prison where you felt like you were always being watched by the guards, so you self-censored. The average is... culturally run down the street naked. I don't mean literally do that. Stop caring. Go, I know you're listening, criminals, and it's illegal and I don't like it, but you're not going to make me self-censor. I'm going to get in your dirty face and get aggressive. Thanks for the call. Alvin. Yeah. Alvin, you're on the air. Yes, sir, from Connecticut. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my call, and I enjoy your show very much.
Thank you.
Called in a couple of weeks ago when Doug and Joel Hagmans were on, but you had to leave early. But I wanted to ask you, several of us have noticed that there has been an increase in the number of elites and leaders that are looking much older, tired, getting sick mentally and physically, even dying. We're even seeing that with some of their family members. We're wondering if this is almost like a little divine intervention starting, almost like the scriptures with Passover, almost where the good Lord is starting to move against the folks creating the largest amount of evil.
No. We should pray that just like plagues came against Egypt,
yes,
we should pray against the globalists that God bring justice upon them.
Are you seeing that? Are you guys tracking that in your studio? Because if that's the case...
No, the evil leaders are always incredibly unhappy. Hitler had all these diseases and problems and degenerated just during the war. I mean, they all look horrible. They're horribly unhappy scum. That's why they want to make us unhappy.
Do you think that that's going to continue? And if it does, isn't that an indication from above that the good Lord is making his move on these folks?
Well, this is the way providence works, and it's been proven historically. George Washington, you name it. We have courage. We do the right thing. We stand up. God will take us the rest of the way. So the more we
teamwork.
Exactly.
That's a good sign. I think it's something you guys might want to track because we're seeing it in the news. I'm not going to name names, but we're seeing this just in the last 3, 4, 5 months. And maybe there's some indications there that something big is happening, and it's more surgical than just some kind of a nuclear war. That would be great, if that could happen.
Well, no, I do pray that the globalists repent, wake up, and stop doing evil, or that God bring judgment upon them. So
exactly.
That's a fact.
Do you think that's starting to happen both ways right now? Conversion, because they're looking internally in their souls, and also at the same time, maybe the good Lord is taking it and pushing it a little further now?
I know there's a huge awakening happening, but also a lot of evil. It's just a big battle's about to happen. I'm sorry to Truth Raider, I'm out of time. Great job to the crew. Great job to everybody out there, the folks up at Genesis, all of our sponsors, and I want to thank God for all of God's support. Please pray for us. Lord willing, we'll be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central for the Friday edition. And tonight, 7 o'clock Central, InfoWars Nightly News at PrisonPlanet.tv.